Are you looking for a view of the world that's a bit different? Hi, I'm Jason Palmer, a host of The Weekend Intelligence, a podcast from The Economist. Join us to hear the stories that matter most to our correspondents and editors. Every Saturday, we introduce you to people and ideas that take you outside the ordinary and expand your horizons one episode at a time. Join us and see the world from a new perspective. To listen free until May 31st, search Spotify for The Weekend Intelligence.
Now that the weather's getting nice, it's time to think about wine tasting. You know, there's nothing better than sitting out on the deck of a nearby vineyard, looking out over the beautiful landscape and sipping something special. And lucky for us, the Willamette Valley has over 700 wineries, many of them just about an hour's drive from the city. Sometimes the hardest part is just picking which one to visit. So which one has the best food or the nicest patio? Which do you need to book ahead? And where are the best local urban wineries as well? Well, today on CityCast Portland, our host Claudia Meza is talking with Eater Portland editor Brooke Jackon-Glidden. She's got some tips on how to get the most out of this glorious wine tasting season. It's Wednesday, May 15th. I'm executive producer John Notarianni, and this is what Portland's talking about.
Okay, Brooke, I know you and I are very big wine enthusiasts, but can you convey to someone who hasn't actually been to an estate, like an actual vineyard, why it's so special, why it's different than maybe partaking of wine at your house, and why spring is the perfect time to do so in our area?
Yeah, so I think that there are so many answers to this question. I think that what immediately comes to mind for me is that you get so much more of a sense of story and context when you go to a winery and like actually talk to a person. Mm-hmm. It's one thing when you're just drinking something in a glass. And like I always liked wine, like I drank wine in college and stuff. But when I moved back home to Oregon, I learned more about wine from a journalistic perspective, which brought me to more like wineries. And it was like the first time that I really understood how wine was this sort of time travel, you know, where like you really capture a time period and a place in a bottle when you make wine, right? Like you can tell whether it rained or, you know, how cold it was or, you know, all of that is kind of kept in a bottle of wine. And you just, I don't think, unless you're like a really, really competent taster, you miss a lot of that when you're just drinking a bottle at home. In terms of like, why now? It's just really pretty. I think if you go to a winery in the Willamette Valley and, you know, Columbia River Gorge, there are so many places to taste in Oregon. It's just like, you know, you're right at that period of like bud break. So it's like they're starting to look really pretty. And, you know, I think the weather is nice and interesting. And so you have some of the first releases and, you know, it's a really cool time to be there. And people are starting to get like excited about the coming season. So I don't know. I always really like going out tasting this time of year.
Same. I feel like the rains brought so much green, and like what better way to enjoy it than sitting in like somewhere pretty in a beautiful patio looking out and just drinking the wine. And like you said, being able to kind of taste what you're seeing, which is something hard to explain to someone until it happens to them. When you're actually smelling where you're at and you drink the wine and it all kind of connects and you're just like, oh, wow, I'm here with this wine. And it's, I don't know, I feel like that's my gospel whenever I try to explain to someone why wine tasting is so much fun in this area. But before we go out into the Willamette, let's talk about some urban wineries, because that's something that, you know, you can just take a max to. Like, what's your favorite right now?
I would say that one of my favorite places to taste right now is Statera Cellars. It feels so like Portlandy. It's 100% Chardonnay focus for like Statera specifically as a label.
That is really bold. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it totally is.
Seriously.
Right? Because I think people really think Chardonnay, they think like butter bomb sort of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And like the people behind it, Meredith Bell and Luke Wild, they really wanted to focus on like the variety of expressions Chardonnay can have in this part of the world. So it's a really cool concept. It's really different. And the space itself is like super hidden. It's like you go up a flight of stairs in this like random warehouse in Southeast, and you go down this hallway.
I'm looking right now. Oh my God, you guys. Sorry, I just have to quickly say it's basically the like working, Southeast waterfront.
Right.
Like, there's like a railroad, crossing right there.
100%.
You would never know. Yeah.
If you know where like the big roaster, Stumptown roaster is, it's like right there. So you'll see like all the like coffee bean husks. It's just like very like industrial. And then you like go up to this random corner, and then you go into this tasting room in the back corner of this warehouse building. And there's a giant like globe of stuffed animals that the winemaker made himself. Like he made this giant stuffed animal globe in the center of this space. It's like the only design feature of this space is this like mega, anyway, it's fun. The wine's really good. And then he, instead of like cheese boards or whatever, he like makes these cup noodles.
A cup of noodles?
Yeah, like cup of noodles, but they're like kind of rare varieties. And then they'll put like crab and kimchi and like sesame oil and stuff. Sometimes they've done like cuttlefish and stuff like that. So it's like these tricked out cup noodles, basically.
Cool.
Very cool, very like off the beaten track. And the wine is really good too. I actually like, very genuinely love to, grab a glass of wine, sit in the window, and you sometimes can hear the train when it rolls by. It's a cool spot.
That. That's awesome. Yeah. And I've never heard of this place. Really happy to check it out. I do turn my nose up a lot to Chardonnays, but that's because, like you were saying, Butterbomb, Vanilla Oak. All I can think of are the Californian Chardonnays. And I think they've ruined my palate for them, where I don't taste anything but that, and it's so hard to like eat food with it. And I like to drink wine when I'm eating. And I'm like, it's so hard to pair Chardonnay with anything that isn't cheese,
Totally, yeah. And I think that they're really trying to show people like this is a really versatile wine. This is a really food friendly wine that's like not boring. I mean, Luke is someone like me who loves like high acid sort of stuff.
Yeah, same.
You'll see really interesting sort of expressions there that I really like. Yeah, it's a really cool spot. I think that like it's hard for me to just mention one. There are so many great ones in the area.
Give me one more.
Yeah. Okay. Just one more, Brooke. You can do this. Okay.
We believe in you, Brooke.
I'm going to do I'm not supposed to. I'm going to do tiny shout out to Community Wine Bar in South Portland. It's really, really fun, from the people behind Gonzalez Wine and Ram Cellars. Really, really like trying to focus on like accessibility and approachability in their wine, really going for a broader understanding of wine pairings, doing bilingual tastings, all that sort of stuff. Really, really cool spot.
Nice.
Love that place. And then Barely Counts, I'm just going to shout it out. Le Cave, it's like owned by the people from Ovum and Golden Cluster. It's like a really cool hidden behind Alberta wine bar. And so it's like mainly a wine bar, but they'll sell their wines too. It's not like a tasting room per se. Mm-hmm. But the real one I'm going to mention is that Fossil and Fun just opened their Portland tasting room. Ooh. And that's such a cool thing. I've been following them forever. I really, really like their stuff. I think the wine of theirs that I probably drink the most is Do Nothing. If you're someone who drinks a lot of Portland wine, it's probably one you've seen. It's kind of like, this is not a kind way of describing it, but this is a wine I like. It's like a jungle juice of like white and red grapes that they just ferment together, whole cluster, carbonic maceration. Like, it's very much like the name is what it is. They're just like, let's put grapes in a thing and let them ferment. And do nothing, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really fun wine.
I want to try it. You sold me on it. What's crazy is that I'm looking at their like Instagram post about it, and Ocean Spray is up in the comments. So I don't know. Because they wrote Grown Up Hawaiian Punch meets Ocean Spray meets Jarrito Strawberry Soda. But, you know, they're really selling this wine, and Ocean Spray's like, 2 hearts, what's up?
I love that. And like that's the vibe of this place, right? Like of this wine. It's like very like nothing fancy, just like really cool, interesting wines. I'm a big fan of Fossil and Fawn. I'm really glad that there's a place to taste in Portland.
You know, Brooke, we should give our listeners one good patio to be outdoors if you're not going to be driving out, or riding your bike for hours out to the Willamette Valley. I'm thinking, you mentioned Lake Cave. There's the outdoor section of that area. You want to name drop that one a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So Le Cave, if you've ever been there before, it's like really known as this like
it's a cave.
It's like absolutely a cave. It's like hidden. You're like underground. But during the pandemic, they created this like pseudo-covered, pseudo-open patio space called Le Clos. Mm-hmm. I don't speak French. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's such a good spring spot in Portland because, like, okay, it's still probably going to rain in Portland. So it's, like, covered in the way it needs to be. But it's still really, like, open air and the sun will get in there and it'll still feel, like, breezy and beautiful on nice days. But you're kind of, like, indoor-outdoor vibing in a way that's kind of fun there.
Yeah. And if you do speak French, you'll know that Le Clos or a clos is a French enclosure. It's also what's used for walled vineyards.
I didn't know that. So
look at me. Look at me go.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Life is full of what-ifs. Some awesome, like what if AI could fold your laundry? And some, well, less awesome, like what if you have unexpected medical costs? United Healthcare can help get you covered with Health Protector Guard fixed indemnity insurance plans. They supplement your primary plan to help you manage out-of-pocket costs. No deductibles, no enrollment periods, and especially no more what-ifs. Visit uh1.com to find the Health Protector Guard plan for you.
How about your top picks for when the weather's nice? Like, we're going on a party bus.
Yeah.
Which also, like, sounds so lame, but so awesome at the same time. That's what I would like to do one day.
I've never done a party bus. You haven't done one either?
No, but I want to do a party bus, but I want to do it to, like, the Willamette, like, somewhere where I don't want to be driving,
100%. And I think there are a ton of places that do that for that very reason. Like, a lot of people come to Portland, they don't drive, or they're like coming as tourists. And there are like a ton of people that will like take you to the Willamette Valley, which I think is nice.
Yeah. So topics for when the weather's nice, Willamette Valley, go.
Okay. So on your way to the Willamette Valley, still in Portland, but just like heading out, there's this place called Amatero Winery. It's kind of the best of both worlds, right? Because it's like close to Portland, but you get there, it's like on Sweet Hill. So you feel like you're in the Willamette Valley. You have like a really beautiful view.
Really pretty.
Yeah, super, super pretty. There are a ton of people who do like weddings there and stuff. And you have this giant patio that like, it just gets super packed because like people love to just, the view there is so pretty. And, this is like very classic, quintessential Pinot Noir sort of, Willamette Valley winery kind of vibes. They also have like a really extensive restaurant on site. So if you want to go and like have dinner, you can really easily do that there. They also have like pairings and stuff. But the menu is like, again, we're like playing the hits. It's like very Pacific Northwestern. So like this time of year, you're going to be eating morels and leeks and salmon and like all of that sort of stuff. They do it pretty well. And I think that like the wine is really lovely and the space is just gorgeous. It's like a really fun spot. And like it feels very escapist for something that's maybe 15 minutes away.
That's insane. I didn't know this place existed. A big drawback sometimes when you go out to these wine tastings is that there's not much food. Like they'll give you some cheese and crack. Like you have to come in. We usually pack in our own food, like sandwiches and stuff. Because after the second wine tasting, you're just like, all right, now we must eat something of substance at this point.
I think that this is something that more winemakers and vineyard owners in the Willamette Valley are starting to figure out, that like people want to be able to eat when they go tasting.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of great restaurants in the Willamette Valley, but I do think that like you don't want to like get out of the groove. You know what I mean? You want to be able to eat while you're there. I have been really impressed with a few places that have invested a ton in having really like beyond great tasting programs. So like the first place that comes to mind for me, and I literally just took my food writing students here, is Soder. So Soder Vineyards, they call their place Mineral Springs Ranch because yes, it's a vineyard. Yes, there are tons of beautiful Pinot Noir grapes there. And it is also like a full-blown farm and garden, right? So they raise Highland cattle, they raise chickens, they have like this extensive garden, they grow their own berries, they have like honey that they harvest on site.
They have their own little ecosystem of deliciousness.
It's an ecosystem of deliciousness. That's so right, Claudia. So it's like such a fun, beautiful space. The wine is really lovely. I think it would be shocking to me if you haven't encountered Soder before. If you're someone who drinks wine in Portland, there's just a ton of it everywhere. I really like their sparkling wines. They also make really beautiful Pinot Noir, very classic Pinot Noir. But, you know, if you're not like a natural wine baddie, like if you're not somebody who's like into the like hardcore
Did you see how
stuff.
cool I got? Just you said that. I'm like, like who? Like who?
I remember our conversations. I remember everything you say.
Overrated doesn't mean I don't like it, Brooke. I feel like I'm going to die on this hill.
I'm just saying, okay, overrated, fine. The thing that's nice about this place is that if you're not as into it, for whatever reason, this is still like, it's biodynamic, organic, like it's doing the whole thing in the vineyard, but the wines are very classic on the palate. So it's like, if you have places that you want to be able to take like any kind of type of wine drinker, they'll probably be happy here. Nice. Wines are really, really well done. But the food is also really cool. The chef there is a guy named Clayton Allen. He was at Clyde Common before. So he does super cool stuff with the food there. The last time I was there, I ate this gougere which is like a cheese puff, for those who might not know. And he filled it with chicken liver mousse, and then it had like grape jelly with it. I feel like describing this does not sound appealing. It was really, really good.
Yeah, because that sounds real gross. But, you know, I can see how it works. I can see how it works. I can see how it works. You're like chicken liver and grape jelly.
No, okay, so think like, don't think like Welch's. Okay. Think like a beautiful, like, you know how you're on a cheese board. You'll have a little like, you know, jam. Like think that vibe, but the grapes are their grapes and the chickens are their chickens. So it's like a real flavor of the actual space.
Oh, and then you drink their wine. Oh.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So really, really special stuff. And then, you know, you'll eat like steaks with the cows that you see like in the vineyard. You know what I mean? It's just like a really cool vibe.
And that's on the Willamette Valley. You also name-checked a vineyard in the Gorge. You want to...
Yes. So
tell us about that one.
I really feel like you can go either way now. Like Willamette Valley has a ton of wineries. You throw a cork, you'll land somewhere great.
Throw a cork. I love that.
You get it. You get it. I think you go in the opposite direction. If you go to the Columbia River Gorge, I think there are some really incredible wineries out there. And I think it's a nice sort of day trip if you also like to hike, or, you know, you also want to do some waterfall watching or whatever. You know what I mean? There's a ton to do out there. I think that Highview Wine Farm is one of like the coolest, groundbreaking sort of wineries.
Interesting.
To open within the last few years in Oregon. I think this is a winery that's been like kind of given a lot of national and international attention because it feels, again, like simultaneously really classic and really new. They call themselves a wine farm because, yes, this is a place that has like a very intense garden that is like supplying what they call their wine tavern with ingredients that become the food that goes with the pairings for the wines. And I think that the wines they grow there are ones that are varietals that are really rare for this part of the country, for this state. You know, you'll see a lot of like Hungarian and Austrian varietals here. And I think that means that you get a really cool range of wines there. You know, I think a lot of people talk about like Pinot fatigue, right? Like you're drinking so much Pinot Noir sometimes that you're just
I
like,
know about Pinot fatigue.
Right.
There's
right?
a reason why I like dove real hard into natural wines. Yeah.
100%, right? So I think that like Hayu does some stuff that is like, oh, this doesn't taste like anything I've had in Oregon before. And the food pairings that they serve alongside the wines are spectacular, like really, really, really good. Again, sourced from like right there. And the chef there is a name that I think longtime Portland food people will probably recognize. That's Jason Barakowski. He was at like Taste Bud and Woodsman Tavern historically.
Ooh, Woodsman Tavern. Woo.
Yeah. So way, way back. But like doing this really cool stuff here. And it's like hyper seasonal. They do a ton of stuff with like, okay, well now it's like winter. So like what kind of roots are we going to pull up and ferment or braise, or like how are we going to derive flavor out of things and really make it feel like it's true to, like you were saying earlier, like what it looks like, smells like, feels like in the actual vineyard or on the farm.
I will say, Brooke, I'm seeing a thread here, and it's wines with delicious food. Thank you. I feel you're like really serving us well here. Thank you. But I know you. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Always, always, always. You cannot escape them with me. Okay, so I have a few ideas. I'm going to keep it short. I teach in McMinnville, and on my drive home sometimes when I'm like, I don't want to deal with traffic right now, I will often like pull into Day Camp, which is Day Wine's tasting room.
Oh, it's cute.
It's really cute. It's definitely not like the look over the hills at the beautiful vista. You know what I mean? It's not that. It's very much like a tasting room, like on my way home from work. So, you know, but it has a really cute outdoor tasting area, so you can still soak up the sun. And the wines are, again, really cool, really very distinct to them. There's this like really intense, cool orange wine that they're known for called Tears of Vulcan. It's like that kind of stuff. And this time of year, I really like their rosé. It's called Lemonade. And it's like very much like I'm sitting on a patio drinking wine, sort of wine. And, you know, I'm sure I've mentioned it before. It is one of my favorite spots. I will mention them again and again.
Which one? Is this another honorable mention? I wonder, do you want to say it at the same time? You want to like hold hands?
We can hold hands. Do it. Okay.
App.
3, 2, 1. Loop-de-loop. But yeah, no. Okay. So technically not Oregon, but I love it there so much. I think their wines are really, really cool.
Agree.
You know, it's a place I can take my mom. Like, you know, she's like a huge fan of their Romeo Red, which is like a really like approachable like midweek wine that's still so tasty. And then they have like the weird and funky stuff that I like too, very much in there. And then like, and you know, all of that being said, the space itself is so casual. You can just walk in. You don't have to like make a reservation like you have to at Hayu or whatever. It's like, pop on over whenever, guys, and sit out in like the overgrown wildflowers that are like outside the tasting room and like look at Mount Hood. It's just like really beautiful, and like it's a very classic thing for at least once a year. I'm driving, you know, through the gorge. I have to like make a detour and go check out Loop de Loop.
It's so cool, and you'll get to meet Julia and Scott, who, you know, Julia's the winemaker. Scott is in charge of the vineyard, and they're pouring. They're out there pouring with their dog. It's super chill, and you can bring your dog. You just have to, you know, have them be outside. Yeah, it's nice. I've had some really wonderful experiences there. Highly recommend it if you are out in the gorge and you're doing a hike and you're just like, you know what, let's go wine it up.
It is very much that kind of vibe too. Like, you probably could, but I would guess that you probably wouldn't like go for a hike and then go to Hayu. It's like, you know, it's a $150 tasting menu wine food thing. So, you know, this is more like, I just went hiking. I'm in like athletic wear. I can still probably go to Loop to Loop, you know?
Yeah, totally. And it is like, if you sit in the right place, you can see Mount Hood and just straight down the gorge. It's insane.
Gorgeous.
I think you've like mentioned it as sitting in a pile of wildflowers, which I 100% agree. And you can smell it. You can smell it in the wine. It's just such an amazing, all-encompassing experience. I love that this is our honorable mention and we're just like ending on it.
Gushing.
It's like, I know, it's like they pay us or something. They don't. We pay them.
They really don't.
We really pay them.
We pay them a lot. I was like devastated. The last time I was there, I like brought back one of their Syrahs that they like can't make anymore because the vineyard, they sold long story. But I dropped it. And I like brought it back. I was so excited about this wine and I dropped it and I cried. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Shattered.
Oh no, this is a terrible story. Okay, let's end
What a way to end it.
I know. Better story. The season's coming. What's the first place you're going to go to?
I mean, I will say that like I'm turning 30 this month. Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you. And I have a reservation set for Hayu. So I'm really excited.
Hey, congratulations.
What about you? Where are you going?
Oh, I'm going to Loop-de-Loop.
Oh. Well, you know, great.
100.
We'll be in the gorge. We'll wave at each other from other sides of the river.
Yeah. I mean, it's because I love going on hikes and then going there. So, yeah, we'll wave to each other.
Amazing.
For sure.
Love that.
Brooke, thank
Awesome.
you so much for hanging out with me, for going through some really awesome wineries. These are amazing. I love that they all have food. That's really hard to find sometimes. So thank you for all of that.
100%. You got to eat.
Girls
You know?
gotta eat.
Girls got to eat.
Well, that's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.